Good evening and welcome to Social Chatter, episode 104. I'm Nick Rishwain, and with me tonight is my co-host and the founder of Social Chatter, that is Christian Karasevich. Hello, Christian.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Doing fantastic.
Good, excellent. And our guest tonight is Adam Leidecker. Am I saying it correctly, Adam?
You got it spot on, my friend.
All right, excellent. And as you will notice, Adam is a very good-looking man. He's got the bald head, glasses, and beard look, which is revered here at Chatter. And we're here with your social media news update today. And Adam has been. I was talking with Adam before we started tonight. Adam has been in social media for, he said, 16 years, and I had to ask, what was social 16 years ago? And he was working on web forums back in the day and been active in MySpace and an early adopter all the way through to Meerkat and active in the podcast movements and or podcasting. Currently, you have a podcast with our friend and former co-host here at Social Chatter with Vincent Orlek. What is the name of your podcast now, Adam? Tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. It's nice to be on a show with someone with such dashing good looks as well.
Appreciate that. Appreciate
that.
Vincent
Orlek and I have a podcast called More Than Hashtags, and it is a practical social media podcast.
Nice.
We get into real application, what's next, what's trending. We started a segment last night's episode called Don't At Me. And just kind of want to give people, being in social for so long, Vincent's handle is not a guru. We're practitioners. We know our stuff, but we've been in the trenches, and we just want to be useful and helpful. So it's More Than Hashtags on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, and at #pod on Twitter.
Nice. And you've been in the podcast community, podcast world, podcast movement, however you want to say it, for quite some time. You worked at Auto Radio. You were just recently separated from Auto Radio. You were there for a year and a half. And what did you do for them?
Sure. I was director of social strategy at Auto Radio, podcast discovery app, basically matching listeners with podcasts they love. So while I was there, helped everything with community to content to really serving listeners and podcasters, which are definitely underserved in the industry for support. Would make manual recommendations across all social channels, just discovering. I mean, at times I would listen through upwards of 40 podcasts a day. It's not an entirety, but wanted to support these great storytellers and creators and find ways by turning audio into video called audiograms to help promo podcasts, from Instagram stories to Snapchat stories, all the way through. Just ways to really shine the spotlight. And if you're not in the top 100, it's really hard to break out. So that's been a huge passion for me through and through to all social networks that I've got in early, was understanding that human experience and helping those people either find a voice, get over their hiccups, and then tell their story.
Nice. Is anybody getting that back? Was anybody hearing what I was just hearing? I opened up one of our articles for tonight, and did that come through on your audio, Christian?
Did not actually. I briefly heard something, but it was
yeah. So I will have to go back to that article and find out where that video is and put it into it.
Yes.
And how long has More Than Hashtags been going on?
Yeah, we're up to, I believe, as of today, episode 17, but we have 2 guest episodes, so almost 20. Episode 0, if you count that. So we actually started planning, probably launched in April, but we started planning 8 months before that. Recorded 3 episodes, scrapped 3 episodes, really just going through the process of why. Why are we doing this? How's it going to stand out? How is it going to be useful and helpful? And that's our goal. The first 5 episodes were on the premise of anyone can start a podcast with, your Apple earbuds. There's some free tools out there, and the reason why is because most podcasts get abandoned by episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to encourage people to use this medium, but also you don't have to go get all the pro equipment and all that unless you're going to commit.
Mm-hmm.
If you get past 7, congratulations. And then go in and explore other tools, other mics, and do that. So it's been a real pleasure. One little footnote, Vincent and I are very busy in the trenches doing social. We both have kids, young kids, and we're like, we needed a challenge. And I was in podcasting and I wanted to be in the space I was living in.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, do you have time to do this? He's like, no. It's like, do you have time to do this? I said, no. He's like, let's do it.
Okay.
So we do it every Wednesday night at about 10 o'clock at night. And we've been playing around with the formats. That's the other thing I would encourage. If you're getting into podcasting, you can change. A lot of new analytics are going to be coming out with iOS 11, listener retention analytics when people are dropping off. So it doesn't hurt to refine. I mean, I know listening metrics. I want to hit that fabled 22-minute podcast length. Yeah, we're like an hour and a half.
Right.
Try every week.
Well, and we actually do the same thing, like you're talking about like podcasting. I mean, we do the same thing with live video. It's the same thing of, it's a formula you need to, the first one was an hour and a half, and then you're slowly whittling things down, trying to get things running at the optimal length, not investing in a lot of equipment at first, maybe invest in a webcam, a microphone, it's all the same thing. So, again, it's something that anybody can start, but you have to persist and work through all of those, well, hey, where's my audience? Do I need to change my show time? Do I need to change my show topic?
So don't be afraid to do that.
Exactly. Don't be afraid
just
to
listen.
change.
I mean, for the copious amounts of people that tweet more than hashtags, we listen.
Excellent. I like that. Is that the slogan?
It's not, but it was kind of tongue in cheek. We've got a few tweets so far.
Excellent. All right. So let's jump right in. Speaking of the time, and let's keep it. I think we've got a short show for you tonight. There's only a few items that were pulled together. Naturally, there may have been some later in the afternoon today, and we will, if they were big stories or if they happen tomorrow, we'll get to those next week. But our first item up today is your LinkedIn active status, and this is there. Christian, if you'll post a link to this in the chat for our guests when they arrive, that'd be great. This is basically, if I'm live on Facebook, you can see that Nick's on Facebook unless I set my privacy settings to show that I'm not active. And this appears to be essentially the same thing for LinkedIn. Display your active status. It's in your profile privacy settings. Show my connections when I'm active on LinkedIn or available on mobile. And you can change it from yes to no. They say the change may take up to 30 minutes. And you can hide your active status from select people. So if you don't want your boss to know that you're looking for a new job, or you just don't want to be bothered with communications at a particular time, you may want to hide your active status from certain people. Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so as of perfect timing, as of late, obviously I've been using LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm looking for my next adventure, posting up there that I'm available on the market for social growth opportunities. So I'm using LinkedIn for a very specific reason, which typically most people use it for connecting, building their network, but then when the time comes, finding a job. When I first saw this, it's very interesting because I saw how Twitter DMs were kind of useless, and then how Facebook Messenger, you see the 3 ellipses, it looks like someone's typing. They may or may not be. Snapchat
and you wait for an hour, right?
Yeah, so Snapchat has that as well. So-and-so is typing on. I see what you're doing there. So this is interesting because, really recently, that message feature has kind of just come alive for me. People are actively using it. Decrease on the spam, those cold messages. And I know I would have to caution, you're going to want to think you're going to see somebody's like green light on, like a little green dot. And if it's a green dot with a white circle, it means they're active but on mobile. So just put some nuance in when you're going to message them, if it makes sense. However, if someone connects with me right away, I've actually had a lot of communication in there about to set up meetings, to set up calls.
Okay.
So they're there right then and there. I like it. At first I was cautious. I was like, I see what you're doing. You're copying. You're trying to do this. You're trying to make it work.
Right.
But practically, at least for 10 or 15 examples in the last 3 days, it's been helpful for me.
Excellent. That's good information to have. And Christian, what are your thoughts on this?
So this is actually a continuation of a feature that LinkedIn rolled out before that, a few weeks before that. A few weeks prior, they had rolled out just the ability for it to be for messaging purposes. Now it actually shows in your status. I think as a business, this is something you want to pay attention to. I think LinkedIn's really making a lot of noise in the last couple of months, actually, with a lot of the updates they're doing. Yes, this is a feature that should have been out a long time ago, but I like the fact that now it makes me actually think before I just go the route of, oh, I got to get that post up today. I actually want to look at it and see, how many people of my network are actually online or active at least. And, if I see they're active, that tells me, hey, you know what? I want to go post them. Now, what it also does, though, is it gives me a social signal. Now, the social signal is that it says, hey, you know what? If I notice a pattern, hey, Christian's always online at, 9 a.m., for instance, my time, that tells me over time, I need to be posting if he's the person that I'm trying to reach at that time. So it's something that just because it's like, hey, it's an on and off switch, you want to pay attention also to when people are online, so you are posting to have a better reach there and to get in front of those people.
Yeah.
You bring up a great point. Like if for product polish, in Facebook, when you're managing a page, it tells you when your fans are active.
Mm-hmm.
It would be pretty fantastic. Maybe if you paid for the pro version of the account to have some follower analytics for your profile and who you're following is online. It's like you're doing it manually. You're looking for those signals manually. That'd be some nice product polish.
By the way, that's a really good idea too, because I like the fact that because LinkedIn kind of is also kind of getting into that. They say, hey, how many people viewed your profile? It says, hey, you have 120 people that viewed it. You can't see who those people are unless you pay for the pro version.
Mm-hmm.
Adding in something like this, I think, would be an incentive for me to want to actually use LinkedIn a lot more, to be able to get some of that the analytical data there, to be able to make those decisions, the informed decisions.
Yeah. I think this is it's a natural progression, and they are making a lot of noise. I think you're right, Christian. They're trying to get people back over there, and I have not yet turned this on. I'll probably do it tomorrow if I remember to do so, and just start playing with it and taking a look to see how people are using it and who's online.
By the way, I want to add a couple of things to this real quick. So on LinkedIn, if you go to it's under your settings menu, under privacy, and then under blocking and hiding, there's actually a couple of things here. One is there's a section where you can actually hide your status from people. So you can put in, for instance, if I'm like, hey, I don't want Adam to see my status, I can go in there and put his name in there as long as we're connected, so he does not see that. But it's also important to know that if you hide your LinkedIn status from somebody, you'll also lose the ability to see when they are online as well. So it's not like you can't hide yourself and then still be able to see people. So.
Right. Okay. But if you have one of those, somebody who's pestering you for some reason and you're not wanting to respond to them right now, I could see that as useful. All right, well, I don't need to see when they're online. I don't want them to see when I'm online.
And by the way, that gets into actually a really good point about management of your status. So for example, if you're seeing, if you do happen to get people that are spamming you per se, this is a good thing to pay attention to as well. Social signal, go in there and, put those people's names in there so that they can't see when you're online.
Right.
Provided it's within reason. Don't just do it because, hey, I don't want them to contact me.
Right.
Well, I did get several right in a row. With the same exact copy paste message. Hey, do use this formula. And now that you're saying that, they have their copy and paste formula set up and they're looking for those green signals.
Yeah.
And they're just going. So I almost wish there was like I'm not sure if you guys are on Angel List in that social network for that space, but they have a thing when you add someone, there's a drop down menu, friend, acquaintance, we work together. It'd be nice to be able. I know why LinkedIn won't roll that out, but it'd be nice to sort that so that way I'm always getting my closest connections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could do that with geolocation if you guys are at the same conference, but that would still get a little creepy.
Well, and by the way, this is version 1. We have to look at
Yeah.
this.
Right.
It's version 1. Hopefully they will continue to improve. I mean, I've been waiting for LinkedIn to do things since the Microsoft acquisition, and they've been rather slow with it, but I'm glad to see we're actually moving somewhere with LinkedIn.
When was the LinkedIn redesign, Christian? I feel like that was January when they did the whole desktop redesign. That was it, they desperately needed to do for so very, very long. So it's been pretty quiet from January until August, until late
Yeah, I mean,
August. It seems
they've
like.
been making they make some random updates here and there, but over the last few months, we started to see a lot of changes, not just the redesign, the active status piece, changes to what else did they change? I think they changed
The video. They added the
video.
LinkedIn video, which Adam and I were just discussing before we got started tonight. And it's, LinkedIn video, it's not live. So really, you could have recorded this same video and uploaded it from your phone. You could have used your camera phone and still uploaded it. It just happens to have that you can make the video in the app now. So, but really it is, it just has made making the video a little bit easier, but it's not a live video. It's a recorded video, no matter how you slice it. So our next story for tonight is WhatsApp verified business accounts. Now, a lot of people might wonder why we're talking WhatsApp. I know it's not in major use in the United States. I don't personally use it. My brother does use it because he travels a lot to South America and Brazil specifically, and he's got a lot of friends there, and so he's very active on WhatsApp because outside the U.S. it's a massive platform. And this has now verified business accounts from WhatsApp. And this is from their blog, and I'm not seeing a date on it. Or it's their FAQ page. WhatsApp is exploring ways for you to communicate with businesses that matter to you. Some business accounts have been verified by WhatsApp. If you see a green badge next to a contact's name, it means that WhatsApp has confirmed that the phone number of this contact belongs to a business account. WhatsApp will also let you know when you start talking to a business via yellow messages inside a chat. There's no way to delete these messages from the chat. So if you are speaking with a business, the yellow indicates that you are speaking to a business and maybe not necessarily an individual, and you can't delete the business messages. If you already have a business phone number saved in your address book, the name you will see is the name you have saved in your address book. If you don't have the business phone number saved in your address book, the name you will see is the name the business has chosen for themselves. So you can also block a business as well. So it's a verification. I think this is a good move. This is good for businesses. It is good for the users. Now users will know that they're communicating with somebody who may be trying to sell them something. But it also allows a business to establish that they are a business, that there's some legitimacy to the business as long as that phone number is matched to a business account. And I think this is a step in the right direction as far as verification for businesses. I think I'm assuming they will do more to verify businesses in the future rather than just the phone number. But I think this is a step in the right direction. Adam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's great, specifically that they have a business app just to manage that. We see that with Facebook Page Manager. Having a conversation with our good friend Vincent last night that it's impossible to manage your LinkedIn business profile from the LinkedIn mobile. Mm-hmm. So the fact that these companies may be a little late to this, but I use WhatsApp. I craft some minimalist goods on the side. I had a couple Kickstarters, and I sell internationally quite a bit. So how I interact with, if they do custom orders, is through WhatsApp.
Okay.
So that's pretty much a couple years ago how it started, and then realized the huge opportunity here. I would say we need to start looking into WhatsApp more. If we're focusing on the core 4 or 5, it's huge. So being able to meet people, and if you dig into WhatsApp and see what they're doing, without a doubt, those features that are missing in Facebook, Twitter, Snap, all across the board, they'll be coming, because it's like a big conglomerate of everything. And that trust and safety of verifying business accounts is what we need across the board. And then as a business, then to be taken seriously, then you have to be useful and helpful, not spam.
Right.
So it's good.
Right. Christian?
So overall, WhatsApp, I mean, here's the thing, and I like the fact that you mentioned this. A lot of people in the United States, they don't use WhatsApp. Or if they do, they use it, to communicate sparingly with, family and friends. Where I'm currently at, WhatsApp is the way that people are communicating. I mean, I have people that, instead of saying, hey, do you have a business card? They ask me, are you on WhatsApp? I registered for a tennis tournament this week, for instance, and the people said, hey, are you on WhatsApp? That's how they're doing business. It is, I look at it and I say, oh, another messaging platform. Do we need another one? But I also look at it like this. I mean, I think Facebook, since Facebook owns all these, I think what they're doing is they're actually testing all of their platforms against one another. They're using, they're using Facebook, they're using Instagram, they're using WhatsApp, and they're kind of, seeing, well, what features are working well here. Let's port those over to this. Let's port them here as well. And then kind of letting people figure out how to tell their story using that tool. But I think overall, I am very excited that they're starting to verify accounts in this case, because a lot of times, people they set up an account and they don't really think about how do I do this for my business? How does it work for my business? What does it actually help with? And it forces people in a way also to make themselves a business versus let me just hey, let me get a random website domain, mybusiness@gmail.com or some website domain. In this case, they can use WhatsApp from a business purpose. It forces them to say, hey, I have to get a business phone number. I need to get a website. I need to get an email address that is about my business and separate that from my personal life. So I'm glad to see WhatsApp is making a move. I think it's kind of like Pinterest. It's the dark horse of social.
Mm-hmm.
It's the site that everybody tends to forget about, but yet there's a lot of transactions and commerce going on.
Mm-hmm. So, Mo, who is in attendance here tonight, appreciate it, Mo. Thanks for being here. And Mo Lilienthal is also our guest for next week. So I'm excited about that. But Mo and I are in a Legal Minds mastermind group that I've mentioned on here before. Where we do that twice a week. And I was thinking, Mo, this WhatsApp might be something, although not necessarily for your business or my business, but we have another member of the group who's an immigration attorney who, with DACA and all the issues that are happening in the news right now, his being on WhatsApp might be the place to be, especially if he's looking to grow, not with the DACA necessarily, who are immigrant or who are children of immigrants who were brought here at a young age and are not necessarily legal alien or legal residents. So not necessarily for them, but if they want to bring family members here and they're looking for an immigration attorney in the United States, if he's on WhatsApp and he's using that, he could probably increase his out of U.S. business for those who are looking to migrate to the U.S. Legally and looking to do it right and looking for the right kind of advice and not just getting caught up with. There's a lot of people out there who take advantage of those who are trying to emigrate to the U.S. And say that they provide legal advice when they really don't. And this could be, having his business on WhatsApp might be something quite worthwhile for him.
By the way, Nick, I also want to you bring up some really good points here. That's actually a really good, really good point there about using WhatsApp. Another thing, a lot of people they think about WhatsApp and they think it's just this messaging platform. The other thing you can also do with WhatsApp is, if you're a business and you have a core group of, following. Basically, you have let's say you have a team, for instance, of 25 people. You could go in and you could conceivably set up a group message. So, for instance, when you have certain things going on, for instance, let's say you have new blog posts going out, you could have people say, hey, you know what, I want to opt in and join your WhatsApp group. And therefore, you could actually message all those people when you have certain things going on. For instance, every time a blog post goes out, part of your process, let me send a WhatsApp message with the link to all those people. This way, you're going outside of just thinking of it as like a one-to-one communication tool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Anything else on this particular aspect of WhatsApp? If not, we do have another item from WhatsApp, building for people. And this was also tied. This was the same. Did you send me two links for the same thing, Chris?
They're actually two different features.
They are two different features. So building for people and now for businesses. This comes from the WhatsApp blog. The other one was from their frequently asked questions. Over 1 billion people use WhatsApp every day to stay connected with their family and friends. And over time, more people are using the app to communicate with businesses they care about too. In fact, many connections. Let's see. Let me get to the. But the way this happens now on WhatsApp is pretty rudimentary. We've heard stories of shopkeepers who use WhatsApp to stay in touch with hundreds of customers from a single smartphone, and from people who are unsure about whether or not a business on WhatsApp is authentic. In the coming months, we'll be testing new features that aim to solve some of these challenges and make it easier for people to communicate with the businesses they want to reach on WhatsApp. Our approach is simple. We want to apply what we've learned, helping people connect with each other, to helping people connect with businesses that are important to them. For example, they want an official presence, a verified profile so people can identify a business from another person, and an easier way to respond to messages. We're building and testing new tools via free WhatsApp business app for small companies and an enterprise solution for bigger companies operating a large scale with a global base of customers, such as airlines, e-commerce sites, and banks. These businesses will be able to use our solutions to provide customers with useful notifications like flight times, delivery confirmations, and other updates. So this is their WhatsApp business app. So it's a separate app, it sounds like. Any further thoughts on this, Adam?
I alluded to it earlier, just the fact that with Facebook page manager, with not having this ability in LinkedIn, this is just a smart play, and I'm really glad they're pushing resources to recognizing the business side of things. Without a doubt, when you start to see those signals, advertisements will come.
Right.
When you start giving tools, resources to those creators. I love the point in the article it talked about airlines. Friends with the guys at Southwest who run their social, and having more available channels to serve, because people they don't want to call you. The thing it was tweeting at the airlines. If you want to get something direct, well, why don't you reduce friction, give the most available, and then I'm sure they'll integrate with a customer service management tool for sure.
Right. Christian, what are your thoughts?
So I'm glad to see that LinkedIn. I'm glad to see WhatsApp is coming out with an additional a business tool here. A couple of things that are important to mention here. There are going to be, of course, there's going to be a version for small business. There's also going to be the whole enterprise side of things for WhatsApp with this tool. But I'm glad to see that there's, again, kind of like going back to what I said a minute ago, like people use WhatsApp for commerce. A lot of people around the world use it for that. And so they might already have their account set up. Now it's just giving them some of those additional tools. Maybe it's the ability to close a transaction right through WhatsApp, for instance. Again, it's almost like taking Facebook Messenger and making, adding a lot of those features to WhatsApp, because a lot of them are already there. So I'm glad to see that WhatsApp is finally, that they're making some movement here. And it doesn't take much, because they have a very built-in and established audience of people that are using the service for business.
And I want to come back to when is the tennis tournament that you registered for?
It's actually in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. So we need you to dominate that. Being the American in a foreign land, we require you to dominate that.
Okay, I will make sure I do my best.
Okay.
And without a doubt, I'm sure someone will retarget and sell you all the equipment you need via WhatsApp because you registered.
That's
Yes,
right.
exactly, right?
That's right. So our last story for tonight is, let me see if I can pull this up. This comes from VentureBeat, and it came out September 6th. Google now lets you edit your business listings directly in search. So Google search is pretty much the first place most people head when trying to find information on a specific company, which is why the company holds a great deal of sway over how a business reaches its target market. With that in mind, the internet giant is rolling out a new dashboard that lets business owners edit and add information directly from within Google search. As usual, business owners can add or claim their business via the free Google My Business service, through which they can later add and update contact information, opening hours, photos, etc. Now Google is making it slightly easier to edit a business profile. Just find the specific listing through Google search by entering the keywords, and you'll be presented with a list of update options in a horizontal panel. You will need to be logged in with your business account for this new dashboard to show up. I think this is great because sometimes, for the business I'm in, I don't regularly go to the Google My Business page. And so when I have to go back and try and find it, it's kind of a nightmare. So what are your thoughts on this, Adam?
Yeah, this is pretty fantastic. I've used this or help others get into their profile several times. Sometimes it's difficult. Every time we would update our branding or add to that, I would go in and update all the photos in that listing, specifically for local businesses. Great, but also knowing if someone's searching your online business or your app, it comes up. So why not use that opportunity to link to your app, have collateral to sell that? When I work in San Francisco, I typically wander down the street. There's a great food truck place called Spark Social. Fantastic. Someone somehow changed it so they were closed, and that drastically affected their business. And I tried to help him fix that. It took weeks for him to get that, and he didn't even know where to start. And if Google is taking not only signing up new businesses but really reducing the friction of changing and getting to that, it's probably a complaint. But also, I realize they're probably competing with Facebook and all the other business listings ones. Smart Play, reducing friction to get in there. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's great. Christian.
So well, this is not a social media channel per se. This is a very, very, very good thing for businesses. There's no excuse right now for a business, now that this is available, for them to have outdated information. Previously, as Adam was mentioning, it's very difficult, or it was, for a business to get their listings updated. A lot of these listings, actually, a local business, for instance, your listings are controlled, they're not really controlled by Google per se. They're controlled by other services. And some of those services are actually very expensive to go to and say, hey, I need to change my information. And it takes months in some cases to get that updated. That could be and that doesn't just affect, that affects your data on what Facebook is pulling in. It affects what's pulling up in Apple Maps. It affects what's pulling up in Google and so forth. So now that Google is letting you make these edits, there's a couple things you can do. One of those is, go to Google Maps, for instance, look up your business. There are options there, for instance, to be able to update your information. For example, I'm a Google local guide. I have the ability to go in and update a business's information if it's not correct. I've done that on several occasions, whether it's their hours aren't listed, their website wasn't correct, they weren't right on the map. Do all those things as a business owner to make sure that your business is listed correctly. Now that it is on Google as well, again, like all you have to do is type in your business on search, pull it up, and then you can make your edits. And, again, it's something you should check at least, maybe quarterly, or maybe every couple of, maybe every month or so, as you're starting to kind of get your business going.
And Mo mentions in the comments here, he said, this is critical to local SEO and make sure it's consistent across the web. This is big for law firms, especially in local markets. It is huge for them to have their Google My Business up to date. I think this will be an easier step for you now, Mo. highly competitive market for SEO for law firms. I'm sure with many other, but this is the market that I know a little bit more about because I interact with a lot of people in that market. So this is. Are you going to check this while we're talking, Mo, or are you checking this in the morning to see if you have easier access to this? And those are our stories for tonight. Christian, you going to give us some tools?
I do have some tools for everybody tonight, and I want to say, I mean, if anybody has questions about anything that we're talking about tonight, or you have like maybe you need help with your listings on Google, for instance, and whatnot, feel free to reach out to us. It's socialchefs.com/contact, and then I'll actually you can get in touch with us and ask us questions if you need specific help. So let's talk about some tools here. Okay, so the first tool that I have for everybody tonight is a tool called ChattyPeople. And this tool is basically it's a chatbot. It's a way for you to build, in this case, a chatbot for Facebook Messenger, for Facebook comments and whatnot. I'll actually pull this up for everybody. And by the way, if anybody has feedback on these, if you've used any of these, just let us know. Okay. So this is ChattyPeople. Very, very, I want to talk about this real quick. So bots, a lot of people think, well, hey, bots aren't, they're not good. But guess what? Bots can handle parts of your business. They don't have to handle your entire business. If you're somebody, for instance, who gets tons of messages through your Facebook page, instead of having to try to keep up with that and try to manage your blog and try to manage your social presence, and your business, obviously, you can set up certain parameters using this app, for instance, in this case, ChattyPeople, to handle certain things that come in. Maybe it's a certain question that comes in. And if that comes in all the time, you can then funnel them certain ways. If you have people that want to make a transaction, you can conduct all this through Messenger. You can use your mobile phone, for instance, for Messenger. It's fantastic. So this is an app for building chatbots. It doesn't require any coding at all. So that's another good thing. They want to make it basically pretty much drag and drop. So that's tool number one.
I have not played with this yet, but chatbots came up in a group Mo and I were in today. So it'll be maybe looking into this a little bit more and seeing. I'm trying to get included on some chatbots right now. So that I can, I want to see how others are using them before I decide whether or not the company's jumping in on it.
Adam, how about you? Do you use chatbots at all, or?
Yeah, so I've been in a couple groups. Obviously, it's people are starting to talk about it. There's, I think, the good, bad, and the ugly. So there's chatbots. It's one of those buzzwords. So one of the things about it is, we see your screen, by the way.
Yeah.
At Podcast Movement, there's 2,000 podcasters, and it came up quite a bit. Met a really smart guy named Peter. He runs a Facebook group called Chatbot Nation, and chatbotnation.co. So he's been experimenting with the good, bad, and ugly, and he showed me just one of the most fantastic chatbots I've ever seen. And it was actually to get people to listen to your podcast. Really interactive, more on the human side versus just, hey, this doesn't feel real. So I think you guys are exactly right. You got to get into it a little bit, see how to use it correctly, and I'm sure you're going to experience how people are abusing it, and then not do that.
And they're going to be people that abuse these things, like chatbots. I mean, people are going to use them maliciously, but at the same time, if you're a business, I mean, it can offload a lot of different tasks that you currently manually do. It's all about getting in there and experimenting. I mean, really, that's all social is. It's about experimenting.
Yeah, and I like to see where people take this, because I was having a call with Peter, and he developed some of these for people, and it's like choose your own adventure almost. And some of them were quite comical. And he gave me a little bit of a glimpse of where it's going, where people are actually humanizing the bot. They weren't actually calling it a chat bot. They were calling it by whatever character name it was. It's like, Wally, he's really funny. I was cracking up about that. So I think definitely another channel, but put the time in. and have it match your social strategy. Yes, it can like get rid of those FAQs and help you there, but what else? What else can you do? How can you think outside the box to stand out from everybody else and just like make that experience, that after the sale experience, that during the sale experience, so delightful?
Yeah.
Good. And what's our second tool for tonight?
So the second tool is a tool called Grids for Instagram, and this is here's the thing. Last week we talked about how Instagram was rolling out, for instance, the ability to use Instagram stories from basically the mobile web, and like, yes, they've also made comments that they are coming out with Instagram on the desktop. Again, this is something it's been a long time coming. It's still not here. So anybody who's saying, well, hey, Instagram on the desktop, like most of the time, the only way it's going to work right now is with a workaround or a third-party app. This tool is a third-party tool. It lets you manage your Instagram channel from an application. Lets you, you can upload your photos, you can upload videos. Let me actually pull this up for everybody, by the way, because it's a pretty slick application. So I'm actually going to pull the application up myself. Let's see.
Yeah, I saw some people mentioning how it was very easy for them to, they get so X number of comments a day. It was very easy to manage that. I wasn't aware you could upload from there as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's similar to like a buffer situation where it queues it up and then you post later.
It actually lets you upload directly from the desktop.
Interesting.
Actually, there we go. And so this is the application. This is the Mac version. There's a Windows version as well, but you do have the ability in most cases. You've got a couple of really good features here. So you've got the ability to do to see your Instagram stories and whatnot up here at the top. It has access to direct messaging. You get your Instagram grid, but it is built into an application, which is the thing I like. It's not some like third-party hack, really. It's an application that is built with the goal. Again, Instagram is very strict on their requirements, and so this way you can actually manage a lot of your channel right from the desktop. So you can do the Instagram photos, you can do the Instagram videos, you can look at your feed, you can look at stories, you can search. You've got all these different features available too. You can add locations, tag people, all this sort of stuff. Yes, you could go on Instagram on the desktop, but that does require, if you go to your web browser, it gives you limited interactions with people. So you still have to conduct a lot of things on mobile and a lot of things on desktop, but not everything in one place. So this actually gives you everything right there. So,
can you? Is it possible you could visit their website for a second?
Yeah, let me actually pull up their website. Let me see if they've actually got that listed here.
I think I just Googled like grids for Instagram.
There's. So their website will actually probably give you a little more info, but they're obviously pushing the Mac app side of things.
Yeah.
Here's what all you can do.
That's cool.
Stories, view and post stories, which is fantastic. Direct messaging, managing multiple accounts. Obviously, the responsive UI, notifications, liking, commenting, following, search, explore. You've also got adjusting the layout to window size, presenting Instagram photos beautifully, of course. But essentially, the total package for Instagram, in a very easy to use app. This, by the way, it's a freemium app, so it's free, but there's also a paid version that unlocks a lot of these features.
One thing I noticed, if you keep scrolling down on their page, I was checking it out. Keep going. Somewhere on here. Oh, it was interesting. Somewhere on their page, at least when I was looking at it, they had all of their app reviews. And this is kind of a feedback for them because I know everyone's always improving their app, but it was just cycling through feedback, but they're all 1 stars. So I was like, hey guys, you might want to take those off of there because, with any app, you could like drop a version with a bug and then get a bunch of, get a bunch of bad reviews. And because when I saw it, I was like, oh, that kind of turned me off a little bit. But then I realized, they're always improving. And this just looks like a pretty fantastic tool.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, it's $9, but here's the thing. you're gonna get your $9 back pretty quickly, because you're not gonna have to be, trying to get some work done, and then hey, you're on your mobile phone, and then you're trying to get some work done, and then you're back on your mobile phone again. Everything is basically right there. This is actually what I wish Instagram had rolled out to begin with themselves, because I think that I think it's actually very beautiful with how it's done.
Yeah, I like this. I was just talking with Nicole, and she was working. I'm going to tell her about this app, because she was working on her Instagram process and her purpose, and how she's using it purposefully rather than kind of the way I do it, which is real slapshot right now.
And the great thing about this, I mean, you've got the Mac version, and you also are supporting Windows here as well. And that's actually kind of rare. A lot of people, they don't, they typically launch an app and it's just for iOS, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And say, oh, hey, Android's coming, and then it never comes. In this case, they're launching Windows and Mac, and they've done a fantastic job with this. So that's the second tool I have for everybody this week.
Awesome. All right. And that wraps it up for tonight. Adam, tell people where they can find you. Twitter handle, what's the best way to get in touch with you if they want?
I am the only Adam Lydecker in the world.
All right.
Seriously? That's pretty awesome.
Yep. Lydecker is we came over a long time ago. My mom did the genealogy. So we're actually we moved out to Arizona about 10 years ago, and there's no other Lydeckers in the state. So if you search, I'm across all social channels, Twitter, Facebook, it's Adam Lydecker, one full name, and LinkedIn as well. So yeah, anyone who wants to connect in those channels, I'm happy to.
Excellent. And Christian, any last wrap up before we close it down for the evening?
I just want to let everybody know that next week, I think you mentioned earlier, we're going to have Mo Lilienthal on as well. He's a good friend of Nick's. Looking forward to having him on as well, to have him share some of his insights. By the way, just Adam, just one quick tip for everybody. Like, what do if you had to give somebody like one tip for the week, like what's one thing that they should be doing?
Sure. Super timely. I'm really digging in how Snapchat is changing the future of news and reporting, citizen journalism. So in the past, when a natural disaster, anything would happen, I'd go to Twitter. I'd be, it's going to drop on Twitter first. And I'm going to Snap Maps now. I'm also going to Instagram location stories, but Snap Maps, you can just pinch on the screen, pinch out on the screen. Once you see the camera, it'll open up Snap Map. Search. I mean, you can obviously scroll across the map and pinch in on Miami, with the hurricane specifically, or just search for a location or the hurricane. Just fascinating. I was thinking through this. I think it helps us. It's really hard for us to mentally think through large scale tragedies, but when you're getting a one-on-one personal connection with the person snapping, and I get it, it's anonymous, but there's a human connection. And it helps. We're so desensitized, so it really helps us process a tragedy or how to help. And I know with even Hurricane Harvey, people were tweeting and putting on Snap Map, "Hey, help! I'm stuck. Get me out." But they were putting it on our story, which makes it public, and then people can go. So that's the power of social media.
Yeah.
If you want to be up to the minute, and not like voyeuristic, because it is kind of, but I think it's more humanistic. Like we're connecting with one-on-one stories in the midst.
I was doing the same thing today. Found myself having some time this afternoon. Just it was sort of quiet after a real busy day, and I had our company Facebook page open, and I happened to go over to the Facebook Live map, and was sort of doing the same thing, going down to Turks and Caicos and Bermuda and a lot of those places that were hit last night, or who have Hurricane Irma coming up on them, and seeing somebody's live feed. And there is something very telling about that you don't get. That I'm using it similar to the Snap Map that you're talking about. Go to the map, go down to that area where you know that it's the hurricanes are coming or just we're at, and going to see who's live at that time and going to see what they're showing. And it's very much citizen journalism. And that's all I've got for tonight. And we're 10 minutes early, Christian. I think we got to wrap it up.
I think we should too. And by the way, it's been a fantastic show having you on, Adam. Really good insight. Glad to finally meet you as well. I mean, I think we talked a bunch through Messenger, but glad to actually meet you face to face.
Pleasure, guys.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Adam. And Adam, what I really want you to do is keep looking as good as you do, because that's what we bring to this show. And so if you come back, we'll spruce up the show again for you.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.